another day of studying VODs.
That's it. Another day of studying VODs.
Yep.
All
It's an
right.
inside joke, but
Best top laner in Academy. Still single, by the way.
Still single. Interesting, Jenkins. Magical, if I left my Twitter open, what status would you make?
Haha, bald.
Oh, there you go. Happy we actually got the Twitter clip in there at some point, and happy that Magical has the humor and creativity of a 5-year-old. With that said, let's talk about the creativity of those teams and the players from game number 1, because what a banger! I know that it's an overused term.
Nah,
47 minutes, back and forth. What a crazy way to start off an elimination series there, Beatdown. I want to start from the perspective of CLG, obviously the team coming out with that victory there, and go back to what we set up. Jenkins on this kind of redemption tour, trying to have a really strong performance for himself. What do we think about the overall performance on the counter pick Gwen? It felt like kind of the thing that tied the comp together.
I agree with you in terms of actually the draft and how that Gwen came through, but I honestly don't think I don't think Jenkins did very much that game until the very end when he was threatening to end through top, and then that other time through bot. Like once it was 4-5 items. In team fights, he was pretty solid. The team fights that went over for CLG, but I think more often than not, he was getting caught out and focused immediately by Winnie. And as soon as Winnie goes through with that composition, all of AOE just comes right after, like the Avengers.
So it meant that other players on CLG had to step up. Magical, we were talking specifically, I know the Ashe build is a little annoying to deal with on the enemy side, but performance-wise, Breezy was oftentimes finding a lot of those engages.
I think it's Beatdown who said this in the break. It's the nature of the build, where just you eventually get to the point where you can just sling out arrow after arrow after arrow, and the thing is, yeah, you could do that, but landing them is more important than anything else. And Breezy was landing nearly all of them. That's what was so impressive to see on this skill shot kind of champion. Especially because a couple of them were from downtown. The predictions that he had of where people's movements would be was spot on.
And everybody had to follow up. Kevy going in with Heroic Charge, and then, of course, the Chain of Corruption coming out from Meech. It felt like a Chain CC style. You land something on one person, everybody follow up, and CLG had that. AOE, there's one moment. I got to go back to it, Beatdown. You pointed it out on the cast. 5 members bot lane against CLG pushing in with 4. Breezy misses the arrow. You got Ornn and Vi, and they don't pull the trigger. They wait for Jenkins to push in mid, and then they're kind of doing a tug of war between mid and bot. What do we think about those kinds of decisions, those kinds of moments in these games for these young players?
It's tough. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit on the day when we were talking about 100 Next. A thing that happens, especially in these situations, it's an elimination game. Nerves definitely come through because I'm looking at that play, and let me play devil's advocate for a second. I think maybe what the thought process is, they have Baron, your inhibs are under threat. If you don't take the fight that's just right and you get wiped, you lose the game right then and there. And you still have a lot to play for in terms of Dragon Soul, maybe Elder, which we saw come through. So with that in mind, they say, okay, maybe let's hold off. But me, Beatdown, personally, Kangas, I'm with you. No Ashe Arrow, you have Vine Ornn, just send it, bro.
Instead they went for the picks. They waited for CLG to split up, and then they tried to go for isolated targets, but they had Flash. Triple had the Banshee's Veil as well, so they weren't able to actually land it. But it's interesting to see the branching decision paths and which path the team decides to walk down.
I'm surprised you're not asking me this question.
Asking Magical this question. Why? Because you always have terrible engages?
Not like this,
All right. Well, I think it's a good time to move on to our next segment here, because obviously we're waiting for Pick and Pan to get started for game number 2, everybody. And with that in mind, we like to have fun on the grass spot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
As
Magical.
you should be. Haha, Paul.
Yeah. Well, okay, I rescind my apology already. We're going to play a game, kind of a twist on a game. This is one that I like to call Whose Stats Are They Anyway, but we're actually going to instead call it Whose History Is It? I'm going to have a graphic pop up on screen, populated with some information about a player, and I want the two of you to talk about who you think that player is. Now, all the information will belong to a player that is in this series, somebody from one of the teams, so you can try and narrow it down to maybe a position, maybe a team, then give me the player. Talk me through your thought process. So let's take a look at the first graphic on the screen here. So obviously you can see where they are in Champs queue, as well as some information on the bottom. So, Beatdown, walk me through this. What's your thought process? What are you thinking here?
SG appearances too. It's probably Jenkins, because Zamudo hasn't changed his name as far as I know, and I know Jenkins used to be like Bob Jenkins or something like that. So that's the entirety of my That's the entirety of my guess. I'm not gonna lie.
Does it have to be from this series, or is it just in the series in general today?
It has to be from any of the players that are on either of the starting rosters.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So this series and the second series?
Yes.
The second series too?
Just Series 1.
Just Series 1. Thank you. That's why I wanted
We'll play this again during next series, but for now, it's just these two teams.
I'm going to go with Jenkins.
All right. You're going Jenkins. Both of you spotted the Bob Jenkins. Both of you, of course, tracking the fact that our favorite top laner did play, in fact, 2 Scouting Grounds appearances. I believe it was 2018 and 2020, or it might have been 2017 and 2019. I'm actually blanking on that one now.
It was a while ago.
But the big fact here is that Jenkins has actually played on multiple different orgs throughout his career. Notably, I mean, the Supernova, pretty much everyone's played on that one at this point. I just love including that one because I just noticed I think every single player that I picked stats for had played on Supernova at some point. But he actually started way back in Golden Guardians Academy in one of the first splits of Academy. Actually, the first split of Academy.
I'm pretty sure it was the very first.
Wow. Yeah, and then he went back to Supernova, went to play in the amateur circuit, and then moved up to Team Liquid Academy. And I actually chatted with him, and he said that he was scouted just through solo queue. He was going on Reddit. He was asking challenger level players, hey, can I talk to any coaches? Can I talk to any, like, analysts and level up my gameplay? I want to get better. I want to improve. Wow. And then he got in touch with Golden Guardians that way, and that's how they picked him up. He wasn't ready at that time, but we've seen him bounce around. Team Liquid Academy, then Team Liquid. He had a couple of starts. Then CLG, starting top laner, now on the Academy scene. When we look at a player like him and his journey, what we're hoping for is upward trajectory and also individual performances at events like this.
Right.
Beatdown, I think you were even saying this earlier today, the importance of a strong individual performance in Proving Grounds.
Right, and again, it's just how a lot of players in this series, I mean, specifically, we've been highlighting Jenkins, Winnie, Skytech, although the levels of peak in terms of where they have played is a little different, they're all trying to get back to where they were, and maybe for Winnie and Skytech further than that if they play well enough. And I think that's the thing that's so interesting about this series in particular. Of course, Jenkins, the one we're looking at right now, trying to make his way back to LCS, and a player who does what you're describing, trying to message coaches, things like that. That's good hustle, and honestly a good sign for a player who's trying to make it to the top.
And I was wrong. He was North American Scouting Grounds 2016, the first Scouting Grounds. So he was there in that first round. Yeah, I know, right? He's been around the scene for a very long time. A lot of people think about Jenkins and they know the name, they know the player, and he's got a lot of people rooting for him. A lot of fans back home that are on the Jenkins hype train and always give him that love and energy that he needs. And I think game 1, he might not have had the most impactful performance when you look at, hype plays, cool things he was doing, but I will say he provided pressure. And Magical, a lot of how CLG was able to control the map and get those inhibitors cracked, it didn't necessarily feel like it because the camera was somewhere else, but you look at the minimap, Jenkins is pushing a wave. He's doing the Gwen thing, right? He's trying to make sure that they have a lane of pressure to play through.
Well, the fallback play with Gwen is always split push. Just go for something like that, especially when you're going up against Orm, because even if he gets tanky, you still do true damage. Doesn't matter if it's nerf. You're still Gwen, and you're gonna hurt. With the Riftmaker and what was it, 3 items at that point. You have all that healing you get too, so any damage that Orm could even possibly do to you is negligible. That just made it impossible for them to actually be able to deal with Jenkins at a point, and that's kind of why you draft Gwen in the first place.
So our eyes will, of course, still be on Jenkins going into game 2 as well. But let's take a look at our second player that we want to play this game with before getting into pick and ban. Magical, I'm going to give this one to you. Walk me through your thought process here.
Okay, so let's see. This player started in collegiate. First ACAD year was 2020. In PG, this player has the highest KP and first blood percentage of all players in their role and 2 Scouting Grounds appearances. I'm going to go with Winnie.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
That's what I was thinking.
First solid guess, Beatdown, what are your thoughts here?
first academy year was 2020. Did start? I'm pretty sure that is Winnie because he started with University of Western. And if it's first blood percentage, yeah, I'm also gonna go with Winnie.
All right, let's take a look. Did my casters get it? I can't believe that you both agreed on both of these, by the way, and that you both got them right.
Let's go.
Actually, this is good news because that means you did your homework. But Winnie is a player that is really interesting story to follow. Of course, Winston is the ID that most people would recognize them by. Now name changed to Winnie. You're right. Beatdown started at Western University, has actually gone back and is currently attending Western University, still playing for them, while also now in the summer for Proving Grounds at AOE Esports. But he's been around the block. He actually played TSM Academy back in 2020. That's why the first Academy year, not currently in it, but he did have that stint there. Then he was on notable amateur teams like Not Academy Team, back when we had all those, funny names. The team name that will not be named, that happened in January 2021.
Oh, yeah. We don't talk about that
if
team.
you want to check out the wiki. We don't talk about that, Borg, but he was on it. And then even Wildcard Red, Immortals AOE, been around the block. That's what happens in amateur. You oftentimes are switching orgs, jumping around, but a consistent factor in Winnie's career is improvement and things like this. Fun fact: high kill participation, high first blood. He makes things happen.
He does, and the thing I want to add too is when he was on Wildcard Red last year, I believe it was in summer, I want to say, they actually placed top 6 in all of Proving Grounds. So he's gone pretty far in this tournament since it started.
Like, he's
one of those players that I want Winnie to get another opportunity at the academy level. Magical, when we look at players that we think are kind of next in line to get an opportunity, I'm shocked that players like Winnie, even up next in players like Fnatic, aren't currently in the academy ecosystem.
Well, this is where it gets difficult because there's only 10 slots that are available for academy for each role, and then you look at how many talented players there are. This is why I always tell people there is plenty of North American talent. You can just see it from the Proving Grounds itself, just the different teams that we have all across the board. And honestly, Winnie, I think, is someone who could very much you can make an argument for taking some players' spots in Academy, but there are still plenty of talented players in Academy that then make it difficult to make that argument.
True. I want to go back because there was a piece of content that we almost did, but we never actually filmed it. Magical, you might remember me asking, hey, can you give me your top 10 junglers going into Proving Grounds?
Oh, yeah.
From Academy or amateur teams. We were going to put together kind of like a tier list or a top 10.
Top 10 of 20 teams isn't really...
Well, yeah, but it's still interesting, right? You had Winnie. I asked Joshi. He also had Winnie. Now, Joshi's not here to defend himself, but where would you rank him? If you're looking at, say, a top 10 list, is he in that top 5 when you're factoring all amateur and all academy players in jungle role at Proving Grounds?
It's hard.
Beatdown, I want you to think about that, too, because I'd love your insight on that.
I would almost think he'd be like 6th.
Ooh, so right on the cusp. Right. Almost on that.
Like 7th or 6th or 7th, right around that.
Beatdown, give me an argument. Why should he be top 5? I'm gonna put you on the spot with it.
I'm really sorry, but I have to say I don't think he would be, because I think Winnie is one of the better junglers we have in amateur, but I think jungle is actually a pretty solid role. And I mean, it's funny. It was, a lot of people were talking about it yesterday. I know Colomer even went on it with his stream, and I think when you think about junglers in the conversation for the best in the whole Proving Grounds tournament, we have to think about players like Keel, City Witty, things like those, who also have, I think, insane individual performances that we have to respect. I mean, Keel being on AOE Ginger Turmeric right now, who are still in the upper bracket as an amateur team, was formerly CLG Academy, by the way, and is still playing insanely, like, out of his mind. And I think Winnie is a player who plays more for his team, and he does a great job at that, but it's really hard, I think, to put him on that top 5 list, especially when you consider how many Academy junglers I'm also a fan of. Think of ones like Jan, Will, who else comes to my mind? I like Chad as well on IMT. Things like, there's a lot of junglers he'd have to fight for, and I wouldn't even, I'd have to really think if I'd say Winnie's even top 5 amateur.
I love that you're actually bringing that up, because when I was looking at the stats of remaining junglers in his role, he is top in first blood and kill participation.
Yeah.
But Keel was actually above him in both those categories. Now, he only played 2 games. It was in the play-ins and it was eliminated, so Keel's not continuing those stats. But as an individual performer, Keel actually did very well. So interesting to see that. But of course, now I want to open the conversation a little bit more to the next game because we're waiting for Pick and Ban to get started. We're not quite there yet, everybody. But bear with us
Oh, is
as
this
the
where I
players
gotta
are
argue
getting
Singed
ready.
and why you should play Singed?
I was not going to argue Singed, but I mean, if we run out of things to talk about while we're waiting for Pick and Ban, we might have to come back to that. But I want to bring us into a potential, or not potential, a guaranteed game number 2, but a hypothetical draft for game number 2. What adaptations do we expect these teams to come in with? Because from AOE side, it felt like they were at a point where they could have closed out that game. So Beatdown, I'm going to give this one to you. What do you want to see different from AOE going into a game 2?
So in a game from AOE, it's tough because honestly, I thought the draft, you could see it worked out for them very well. They understood their limitations. They played the early game. I mean, props to CLG for slowing things down and keeping it even. But once the ultimate started coming through, and once we got out of laning phase and into these bigger skirmishes and team fights, AOE, they understood their comp very well. And I kept saying it. I'm like, hey, it's hard for AOE to play this game, but if they keep playing these fights right, and they kept doing it to get us to 47 minutes, it is possible. I think the only thing really I could think of if I wanted to switch things up is maybe something different for Young in the mid lane, just because I think it got harder for him to be able to have as much of an impact. Those paddle stars were doing work, but it kind of got harder for him to play, I think, by the end.
Yeah. And also, quick update. I just realized I said Keel earlier. I meant Rose Thorn.
I didn't want
Keel is, of
I
course,
didn't wanna
still
correct
in
you.
the tournament. He has not been eliminated in the playoffs. He's in the upper bracket right now. Rose Thorn was number 1 in those other 2 stats. Shout out to Rose Thorn. But I like to break down, beatdown right there of the possible adaptations. So, Magic, I'm going to give you the other side of that for CLG Academy. As a team that just picked up that win, it was close, though. How do you want a cleaner game from them going into game 2?
I think it's on Kevy. I actually think the draft was pretty good for them. I think it had a lot of good identities to it, but it was just Kevy not playing enough in the early game, not really trying to see if he can match the tempo that Winnie was setting up. I think if Kevy is able to either more match that or make sure that he's the one getting those plays early on himself, that the game should be locked and steady.
Okay. I will say, I think Kevy had maybe not the earliest aggression.
The early game wasn't good. It was the mid to late game where he started to shine.
Exactly. There was a key moment where, Young's Zoe jumping over the wall, and he's the one going for the heroic charge. I actually even noticed a moment where he gets hit by a trouble bubble and then flashes over a wall in the mid lane to try and find the Zoe too. So he was still playing aggressive. He was still looking for those picks. And the one time that he did pick up Young, set up that Elder Dragon fight, which took a while, but it was cool that he was still always proactive and always looking for that next play in the mid to late game. I agree, though. I would love to have some more early game focus. But as we are still waiting for Pick and Ban to start for game number 2, there has been a slight delay. We're going to hear a little bit from the CLG players themselves. So let's take a look.
I would say I'm pretty good at Aatrox. Haven't been able to bust that one out yet, but yeah, definitely Aatrox. Yeah.
Better than Thomas?
Yeah, 100%. We'll do some 1v1s, I reckon.
Offering the songs?
Yeah, maybe Silas.
Yeah.
Silas getting Yeah. Moving on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say Misfortune. But I'll also say I'm probably the best Misfortune on the servers, so it's not like, I don't know, he shouldn't feel bad about it.
I think the video even encapsulated it a little bit, but how quiet some of the players are when they are on camera for the first time in a studio, because of course this was our first time getting a lot of the Academy players in for something like that. They definitely opened up throughout the day, but you can see like some of the first questions, it's like, all right, let's warm everybody up right here. Magic, we had the fun part of that shoot.
Oh yeah, no. We
had all like the props and stuff.
Well,
you had the props. Okay, all right. I'll give you credit. You had the props. I wrote some of the signs. We were like 50-50 on the signs.
You wrote the crappy signs that no one really wanted to pick that much.
All right, I'm here. The Pick and Ban will be ready in a couple of minutes, so bear with us while we're getting ready for that. While we're waiting, I'm going to have Beatdown put on the spot here because you said something at the top of the show, and we highlighted it. 15 wins in total for amateur teams over Academy teams for the rest of Proving Grounds. So I'm going to give you the opportunity, as Magical has left us now, to defend yourself and give us the path for how you see it happening. I know you got into it a little bit, during the pre-show, but I want to give you actual justice. So let's take a look at the lower bracket. Let's start there. Because we have 2 amateur teams playing today. We're already watching AOE. They just lost game 1. Walk me through what happens in the bracket here. How do you get 15 wins for amateur teams over Academy?
So actually, so far, we're kind of on schedule with what I was expecting, because I did think CLG Academy would win the series. It just depends on AOE Esports actually getting a game off. Because if you look at L5 and L6, both our amateur teams are on this upper part of that lower bracket, meaning if both amateur teams win, they will face each other, and the wins we're predicting are amateur versus academy, so it doesn't actually count. So
yeah,
prediction
you probably don't want 2 amateur teams against each other in that kind of scenario.
that feels terrible, honestly. So with that in mind, I do expect 100 Thieves to win this series, and I do expect them to beat either AOE or CLG Academy. So that comes through. Part of it is also how I think AOE Ginger Turmeric will do with their remaining matches. They're facing Cloud9 Academy. I mean, Cloud9 Academy, I think, are really good, so I doubt they're going to lose more than a game. But if when AGT lose, they will face 100 Academy also.
So you're basically saying AOE Esports, do you, in your scenario, are they getting 2-0'd by CLG Academy, or are they picking up 1 win?
They're picking up 1 win. Because that
so you're hoping that they get 1 win here. CLG advances because mathematically, that's actually more wins possible.
Yeah. It sounds really brutal, but yeah, that's kind of the thought process. And I also misspoke really quickly. If AGT lose, they won't necessarily face 100 Thieves Academy, but I'm almost certain they drop down to that L10 spot. And if you look at L7 and 8, that's all Academy teams, so there's the potential there for more games.
Well, let's take a look at the upper bracket. So are you predicting then, in your scenario, that Ginger Turmeric lose to Cloud9 Academy, or do they have to win there in order for this to play out the way you want?
They win a single game, and that is required for this to play out the way, well, not required, but very helpful for this to play out the way I'm expecting. Because then again, they drop to that L10 part where you're facing one of several Academy teams.
It's actually L12, I believe they dropped down to. Because they're guaranteed. Because what you saw was the 2 teams will face each other. 8. So depending on how the games go, say 100 Thieves Academy will face off against FlyQuest Academy, saying that they...
Well, let's take a look at it. So you're saying L12 then. Let's look at the lower bracket. If production can ping pong his back over that so we can catch up. So that would put them up against the winner between Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, TSM.
Yeah.
One of those teams.
That's okay, because that's still connected to the 4 Academy teams I'm seeing there. So my scenario still plays out.
So it's not guaranteed. I'm just taking a wild guess in the dark, mostly because it's kind of hard for me to see right now.
What's really cool about that is that it means that the amateur teams dodge each other on L11. So say either AOE comes back in this series and continue, or 100 Thieves next continue. If either of those make it to L11, they're up against an academy team and an amateur team if Ginger Tumor gets knocked down to L12. So this is mathematically great. This is actually sound from B-Town. I'm starting to buy into this. Magical,
I know.
You had 14, so you were already bought in, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, I only had 12. I gotta decide, do I change it a 3rd time?
Can you? I feel like that's not allowed. Whoa, what the heck?
I don't know what's going on with Magical. Sometimes he just puts things on his head and we just kind of roll with it.
Oh, I see.
It's best to not acknowledge.
Okay.
Unless this is a bit. Magical, do you have a bit planned? Yeah, usually it's not a bit. All right. Well, 12 wins was what I predicted, which means that I only need 4 more. All right. I think if 100 Thieves next can give me a couple, I'm feeling pretty confident. But I'm hearing the pick advantage is ready, everybody. So we don't have to feel any longer. Let's hop in and get it to game number 2.
All right, there we go. I got rid of the chainmail. We're ready to go. Being a knight and stuff, trying to... I don't even know what I was going for there. Sorry, Kelsey. But we're getting into this game. We're getting into our 2nd game of our best of 3, where if history does intend to repeat itself, AOE were able to pick up game 2 in spring against CLG Academy. But here with the draft, we're seeing, even though they've swapped sides, not really saying too much change from CLG's bans. It's only AOE that really are changing things up.
Right, and I like that we're seeing, so AOE Esports really believe in the power of Callista, so much so that even on red side, they're taking it away. They believe it's first fixable, and they don't want it in Meech's hands. Now, the other adaptation is they are removing the Poppy from Kevy. He, honestly, it's something, like, I watched a lot of Academy in summer, and I don't even think I saw a single game come through from him. Mind you, I didn't see every single one, but the fact that he was the Wukong that he was more comfortable on, the fact that he played this well to draw a ban, I think says something for him, and now I'm wondering if we'll see the Wukong come through for him again.
Wukong and Viego have been those strong non-AP junglers that he'd been playing throughout his time back in the LCO as well here in Academy. So with that Wukong ban, Viego is left open, but I'd still be surprised if we saw that. We still have other things like Olaf kind of rising in priority, Volibear, another one of those champions that's kind of gotten a little bit more power. Vi, I mean, that's already banned away. That's just double banned too, because it's for both Winnie and Skytech. Yeah,
junglers very clearly strong on the patch according to both of these teams. 4 junglers banned across both. And now, question is, what's going for Meech here? You said it, Kevy plays a lot of the Viego as well, both in Academy and in the LCO. They're going to get that one in his hands again.
So now I'm curious. We saw some buffs to Lee Sin, and Winnie is a player that likes to play pretty aggressively early on into the game. So I'm looking at that as possibly yeah, exactly. Possibly what they want to get. Get Young on LeBlanc, something that he's performed very well on outside of that, just the Syndra, and then the Lee Sin for Winnie. Even if they don't necessarily have to pick it here, the Felios is something I know Lynx likes to play a lot, and that's not banned, nor is the Sivir.
Okay, so the Xin Zhao would also make a lot of sense. Either way, good early game power. Olaf, a lot of these things are good options there, especially when paired with LeBlanc, where you just have you're really strong in lane, you have that opportunity to be really aggressive early mid game, and you have that opportunity, we kind of talked about it, where either you try to, with what Winnie was doing with the Vi, you try to bypass the front line. In Vi's case, cease and desist, can't be CC'd. In this case, LeBlanc cheats terrain, able to get around the front line and to blow up someone like Meech. You said it, Magical. Sivir is come through. Oh no, Sivir Yumi.
Sivir Yumi. Okay. Not with Vi either for Skytech, that counter pick that he's actually enjoyed playing into that. So let's see what he has instead. The Rakan is something, again, he loves playing it. It's one of his best performing champions, but it's those engaged styles that we tend to see when Skytech really has the best performances. And having him kind of go in with already Winnie on Xin Zhao, having Young on LeBlanc, the Rakan just makes a lot of sense.
Some of AoE's best games, Magical, are when these two players have so much CC between them and are able to just full ascend it here. And it seems like they're keeping with the theme with this draft. It will be locked in. The only thing left at this point is trying to get an 80 carry for Lynx and a top laner for Zamudo here. With counter pick, that's something we could see come through. Something more dominant than I think in Ornn for Zamudo. Him being a player who I think has impressed a lot of us on the amateur side with how skilled he is. Back in spring, he was playing on a team called Third Party. Didn't place well enough to get to PG, but insane individual performances. The dude has been consistent all year long, only getting better.
All right, there's a reason why he was kind of picked up by AOE in the first place, right? Yeah. Everyone was looking at him like, hey, this guy's actually pretty good. Might as well try to see how he's going to do. And I think he slotted in very well with AOE. And I'm curious to see what they're going to draft for him now. I'm expecting it's going to be not blind pick. They're going to grab an ADC with the Twitch being banned. I'm expecting a Felios. But then I'm wondering what Lynx wants to take into a Sivir Yumi lane.
Right, there's still a lot of options up. Twitch being taken away means another hyper. Okay, Twitch and Aphelios. Yeah, fair enough. But you talked about it. Zeri still up and available, not touched in the last game in either pick or ban, and now Lynx is going to be rocking it in this game too. So you do give yourself that big mobility that I think is present on the rest of AoE's team composition if you look at it here, especially between LeBlanc and Rakan. And it means that you have the ability to be able to kite very well, because looking at Viego Silas, they're looking to run you down, man.
Silas, I love seeing Silas. I think he's a really strong champion. Though the only real alts I'm looking that he could possibly steal probably going to be the quickness from Rakan, maybe even Crescent Strike from...
Yeah, it's good.
That's good, but it's just looking at that and then looking at what AoE themselves want to do, which is actually fight in tight corridors. They're more than happy fighting in the territory normally Silas would dominate in. So I feel like both sides have really drafted for skirmish, and that is Zamudo Draven.
Top?
That is
Wait, that's true. He does that. He does that. Oh my, that threw me off for a quick second there. And as long as that's not some kind of draft bug, Magical.
No,
we
that
have
is Zamudo
Draven in the top lane. He's played it into Gnar before. before, and that already shows Winnie, SkyTech. I'm expecting them to make quite the appearance in the top side of the map. I will say, the AOE's comp, I have some concerns based on how what I had with CLG's comp in the last game. Very squishy. People like Silas coming through here, Sejuani, Viego, ways to really blow up squishy people. You're going to have to play these fights very, very well. User mobility on AOE side very well. But they have a lot of early game pressure to work with here. And on CLG's Academy side, not as much. Much like game one, they're playing the slow roll, get to the later stages part of the game, minimize your early game losses.
But this is where things get even more dicey. Because unlike last time, where you had this competition that could hold on, could scale up, they're still good at scaling elements on AoE. Plus, if you do not stop Zamudo on Draven, he will get to a point that you can't even deal with him. Doesn't matter late game or not.
That's true. And I mean, the early game, like when you see a champ, like when you see an AD carry top lane, it is a big, big light saying, we're going top lane, we're all inning top lane. And that's why I'm talking about it. Winnie, SkyTech, they're going to be there, making sure Zamudo takes control of this matchup. And if they do get him snowballing, he will be a big problem for the side of CLG to deal with.
And the fact that this is with backs up against the wall for AoE, they have to win the next 2 games to remain in the proving grounds, and they put their confidence into Zamudo on Draven. Not only that, shenaniganeries are a bound beatdown.
And it's expected from CLG. You already know cheese is on the menu when this sort of thing happens, but
spotted out SkyTech. Could be dicey.
I think they want
Let's see. Wait a minute. Looking for it. They're getting a little bit of damage. They're trying to see if they can get the dash away. The knock about Jenkins flashes in as well. No flash away for Jenkins. First blood
for Draven.
Draven. That's Winnie. He might fall to the ignite on the other side. Will be killed by Kevy. Triples in the middle.
Zamudo?
He doesn't get the kill. He's going to go over to Lynx, but they still have the damage that you can do.
Are you serious?
Double kill for Lynx to start off game 2.
This couldn't be any better for AoE. You get a kill onto Draven. You get a kill, 2 kills actually, onto Zeri. That means Lynx is going to walk back to lane. Well, I don't even know what. He's got the call already coming through here. Now he's working his way towards the Berserker's Greaves. And we're going to see it in the replay. The thing is, we saw it on that vision toggle. Only SkyTech was spotted out because of where people were. So Jenkins is feeling good about moving up here. Doesn't realize, oh my god, all of AoE are here. And as soon as the Q is used and skilled up by Jenkins, they run him down. And honestly, they tried to take advantage of Winnie going down. But I think that's not worth it if you're the side of AoE. Like, your level 1 as AoE is so good. Why are you fighting this?
I don't know. And now you've
just
given
hug
up
the
double
L, bro.
kills.
Just take it.
You gave double kills to Lynx. You gave first blood and a kill to Zamudo right out of the gates. Sure, you don't get the biggest cash in there, but this is starting Draven off to the races.
This is Draven with 1 kill and 2 assists at 2 minutes. This lane's not playable for Jenkins anymore. Like, it's just simply not. And yeah, this is important too, because we talked about it. Overall, CLG need to minimize their losses in the early. Well, they just did the opposite of that, Magical. AoE, they have all the gold they need in all the right places to be able to start off game 2 right. And now, though,
now they're looking to see if they can pick Zamudo, but Zamudo has Cleanse, so even if Kevy went in, should be able to get away from the Spectrum Wall. There it is, getting a little bit of damage onto Zamudo. But Zamudo, he'll be back towards the turret. Not having TP will hurt Zamudo in the long run, at least when getting poked out and ganked by Kevy.
Right, but it's worth noting, Kevy did full clear top. Now isn't in a great position to actually go for another gank here. Oh, I like this though.
Dash away, but the fact that the chains didn't connect is why Winnie peels back off and now is looking to see if he can possibly skirmish against Kevy. Viego versus Xin Zhao. It's always Xin Zhao favored in the early onset of the game.
Right, Xin Zhao is one of the greatest AD junglers when it comes to dueling, especially at level 3, so you don't want that smoke if you're Kevy. You're going to let that one go here, and it means that, I mean, Jenkins, you have to be more careful because of all this topside pressure. Winnie is there, Zamudo is fed already off the bat, and I think this is still a good position. CLG, going forward in this game, again, they just need to slow things down. Even though Kevy, I want to say, did pick up a kill. So did get some extra gold in his pocket, and Viego, even though not as strong as Xin Zhao, like, you still have a lot of early game tools to help slow down what Winnie and the rest of AoE want to do. That's what CLG got to do.
Right, and when we look at this game, that has happened. It's sure only 4 minutes into the game, but it has slowed down to a bit. the beat is a little bit more for CLG to be able to get themselves back up in the game. You can look at how their CS leads are, though. That's where the biggest issue for me is. Not even the kills that were gained, because early kills don't mount you that much gold in this game. But it's the fact that you have these CS leads built up in both solo lanes that is going to be devastating for CLG Academy.
Right, and it's because of all the pressure. Young, again, a player we highlight, being someone who's got these insane performances, and he could look for another.
No, he'll be able to dodge away from that one. SkyTech has to be careful because Winnie's taking a lot of damage, so they might have been up a little bit more than can chew. That triple will be toppled by Young. SkyTech taken out by a double-killed Kenby as he looks to hunt down. Look at where Zamudo is. They already have Jenkins chasing down, and this could turn it all around for CLG, getting another kill on to Kevy. But Kevy was able to use the fake to get away, but he might have to just go for a sacrifice inside the base because he's a far away from home. Does he go for the TP play or does he go for the execute? Has it been long enough? We'll see. It has.
Perfect. Dude, and honestly, when you consider channeling your recall 8 seconds, it's not that bad. Young is down for 13 seconds. It's a fast back. We'll call it that, but I like it. SkyTech already looking for roams to affect other parts of the map. Trying to play for Young is what you want here, but Young, you can see it, wasn't quite in position to follow up, and it means you had that opportunity for Triple and Kevy to be able to turn things around here. It is nice that Young got a kill, but this is very much favored in CLG.
The fact that Kevy's the one getting the kills too on Viego, even if one kill was gifted to Triple, you've now gotten 2 kills to your name, an assist back up as well. So you're actually feeling very powerful and looking for this game top lane. Even if Zamudo does have the backup of SkyTech, that is one of the nice things about having this Recon that wants to move around the map with double ADCs across the map is you could always do something like that.
And honestly, what an insane roam timer. The timing is so good because they have that idea on where Kevy is going to be for the most part. And now,
they
big
are
wave stack.
Hard committing for this. Level 6 for Zamudo and Young. Jenkins trying to clear out the minion wave, but they're looking for Kevy instead. Trying to see if they can take him down. He's taking the flash away. SkyTech took a lot of damage coming in from the turret. Will be able to survive both ends of the trade. Still alive, but low health bars on the side of CLG. They're looking to escape from the battle as Lynx has to have his own little duel against Meech and Breezy in the bot lane.
A lot of summoners used, and Lynx is in an okay position, but he has to leave now. Yeah, exactly. Triple is on the way. He has this hijack. He could technically steal the Lightning Crash if he wants to, but overall, we look back at the impact that came through topside. Again, we said this in draft, you're all inning on Zamudo on the Draven, which means Lynx, you know, you lose out a little bit in terms of gold and XP in situations like this, but those 2 kills actually make that not that terrible, if we're being honest here. So that early level 1, still coming in clutch for the side of AOE.
Right, and now SkyTech back in the bot lane can put a little bit of pressure back on Meech and Breezy just to make sure not another plate will be picked up by Meech and Breezy this early on, since they got 2 of them already. As you talked about, the 2 early kills for Lynx will help make it so that they're not going to fall too far behind, but Meech should be able to back up and reset with a good chunk of change in his pocket.
That's true. You see that CS lead start to come through, and at this point now, you have the exchange of jungle camps from both sides. A little vertical jungling coming through here, and it's important because AOE, even though they have tools to scale later on, this is still, once again, a snowball composition where you want your LeBlanc, you want your Xin Zhao, and Draven to be snowballing out their minds here. So making sure you control that top side and can get the Rift Herald is exactly what AOE want to be doing.
As with the lane pressure that they have from both LeBlanc and Draven is setting up for Winnie to just take away some of these wolves. Should be spotted out by Kevy, at least that they were taken. And with Kevy having that little bit of a lead in XP, could put some threat back up, especially because you can already see on the map that both sides of the map are rotating towards the top half of the map, but there might be some skirmishing in the bot lane as Meech was a little too overextended. This one looking for that play, and without level 6, you cannot fight against Lynx. And what is a cat without anybody to go on the back of? You gotta run back to your turret, but you're getting chased down, zapped away for a double kill out of Lynx. But top lane, there's a fight where they lost Zamudo. Over the wall goes Young to survive, but the play that they themselves were trying to set up on the top side did not go well as well.
That is brutal. Kevy getting to reset there, and hopefully we'll see exactly what went down in the replay. Means that CLGA are going to be able to pick up the Rift Herald, the tool AOE wanted. Only saving grace is that bottom lane 2v2, but we'll take a look here. There was no information. They only just now saw Kevy, and with that Glacial Prison there, even though it was instantly cleansed, it was all the spacing needed here, especially with, you called it, Magical, no Crescent Guard for Winnie. He didn't quite get level 6. If he did, might have gone differently, but in the end, Kevy and Jenkins, they pick up gold on that side of the map. They still managed to trade for what AOE have taken elsewhere.
Well, this goes back to the conversation that we were having during Champions. Like, Kevy, one of his best performing champions when he was in LCS was Viego. This is the champion that I think a lot of people kind of look towards him playing. That and Evelyn were some of his strongest champions. Wukong was much more of a recent addition. With 3 kills to his name, he's set up to be the carry of the team unless they can pick him off now. Shut him down and giving the kill over to Young.
This is big, and one, you get the double buffs onto Young, which means Triple's not going to have a nice time laning against them, but you also secure that dragon for yourselves, and you get Young, who's 2, 1, and 3 now, the 80 carry Nightmare, a lead over the Silas, and you can see it. AOE, they're not done. And the thing I love about not just AOE, but amateur in general, they make mistakes, plays don't go their way, Magical, they don't care. They will try again.
Again and again and again, which makes it so much more exciting than a lot of other leagues. And then it kind of culminates in when you have Lynx 4-0, 10 minutes into the game on Zeri. This is a huge spike for something that normally is much more of a scaler, something that you can rely on later into the game. We were all focused on the top side of the map for AOE, but it's really the spot lane that is going to be their crutch.
And the only lead to speak of on CLG side is Kevy. He has that Blade of the Ruined King finished, which is a pretty big deal, but overall, I mean, Magical, you're chilling.
Hard.
You're chilling.
Yeah.
Like, Zamudo, Young, Lynx are just laughing right now with the gold they have in their pockets. And it means that even though Herald wasn't picked up the way they wanted to, at this point, as long as AOE can anticipate the play and minimize its outcome, then they should be in an okay spot. Problem is, Zamudo's
in trouble. No cleanse, no flash, no dash, no escape to hope for.
Yeah, just needed to avoid that play. The nice thing, Magical, is the wave was under the turret. So no Herald drop just yet, but until a rotation comes through, there is the chance that CLG are going to be able to take a lot of turret plays, get a lot of gold after what has gone through.
The only thing is losing those stacks on Zamudo. So if they can gain those 4 Lynx here in the top lane play, Kevy is nearby.
Lightning Crash.
It's 4-0. That Lightning Crash is already used. Winnie goes into the deep line, trying to see if he can save everybody's life. Skytech was low.
Young is here.
He TP'd in. Look at Lynx. Still trying to fight with Triple, showing up the flash in, looking for the flash to get away from Lynx. But now they got to be careful. Winnie was taken down in the fight. CLG turned it on its head.
Oh, that's such a big deal, Magical, because not only do you win the fight, you get teleports out, and you get a position where now, Kevy, oh my god!
Oh, Kevy follows up, and he might be bigger
No
than
way,
Lynx
no
in
way.
this. He stole it away. Zeri couldn't finish off any more members, but really, who cares? You've got 4 kills now. 2 your Viego popping the eye. That turret will fall.
That is huge. You needed this gold lead to go through here, and this is better than a few plays. It's that first brick going over, that local gold shared between Meech and Breezy. And this is Sivir Yuumi we're talking about. Getting a lead as this insane duo is so dangerous, but you can see it. AOE, they try to make these plays, and it started off good, but Exhaust and the fact that Meech was able to stay alive, buying time for Triple, means that it was just too difficult. All it takes is 1 kill for Kevy to start resetting.
Not only Triple, but Jenkins TPing into that fight as well. So you had essentially what you thought was going to be a nice even fight of 4v4, turning into a 5v4. Gave a lot more pressure, and then Kevy, we talked about his Viego before, his skills on playing this champion. Finding those picks, pushing them off so they can set up for that top lane tower take.
And it's huge. Now, the lead that Lynx had over Meech early on is pretty much dusted now. They're even, if not ahead, for Meech. Now, Skytech is in a little bit of trouble. Oh, he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say, not just a little bit. He's in a lot of it. He's trying to get away, might even look for an execute, but with the movement speed that Kevy gains from having a cat on his back, Skytech goes into the base and is going to look for the execute, and they're just going to let him. They know that it's not worth their time.
Actually, he's going to recall because he realized nobody came to look for him here. So that's, that's actually pretty handy. It wouldn't have been like a big deal if he executed, but the fact that he just recalls, walks away after all that vision he set up on the bottom side, that's pretty good for AOE. They still probably want to keep stacking dragons and play for that soul as they have been so far. So having that vision, having your support back on the map is going to be a pretty big deal.
And now we get to the point of the game where we're getting a lot of those mythics completed. Everyone across the board outside of Skytech has gotten their first item built up. The Blade of the Rune King was that rush for Kevy, which you kind of see when you get ahead as Viego. You kind of want to go for that. But I'm actually a little bit worried with him having that because it does make him far more susceptible of getting burst down.
Yeah, but when you have Yuumi, when you have people like Jenkins and Triple being able to make space for you, I think you're okay with that, especially because he's probably going to go Divine Thunder after, which will give you that sustain, the healing, the health. I think it's an alright build path here just because of how big a spike it is. And now, though, we're going to play as the AoE make again and again. Here we go.
Looking for Jenkins, try to chase him down, but he should be able to get away. The zap coming through. They've got the knock-up as well. It gives Zamuda the kill so he can cash in on the Adoration stacks.
Just doesn't get any better, Magical, but of course, CLGA, they continue to make plays, answer for what AoE take, and that's the mid-tier 1 turret. And I mean, we talk about greater implications across the map. CLGA do get the better end of that trade. We talked about it last game, being able to push vision deeper is so important.
Ooh, Meech had to flash back to get away from Young, as now Young is in a bad spot. The quickness to lock him in place. Young, can you dodge away? This time, he cannot escape with his life as Lynx looks to pile back towards the bot lane. Looking to see if they can kite back towards the Muda. Triple goes in aggressively. Winnie's there too. Lightning Crash comes down. That damage whirling death. Shut down for Zamudo as Kevy
Lynx reads it.
And it was read perfectly by Lynx. Breezy will be the last casualty in the fight as AOE bounce back in the game that they started off so well in.
And that's a beautiful comeback for AOE Esports. The fact that they were able to not only cash in on Zamudo's Adoration earlier, but now they get a big team fight. 4 out of 5 members off the map. They get so much gold from that. They get this dragon, which means they're halfway to a mountain soul, and now they weren't able to get the turret, but man, they're happy with everything.
Well, I think they get the bot lane turret. They got the bot lane turret. They get another kill for Zamudo with the Whirling Death, so that's more Adoration stacks cashed in.
Yeah, that's right. All that extra gold on top of the kill itself, and it's just the rest of them being chased to the tier 2 turret of AoE, making it that much easier. And again, Magical, the gold is going into all the right places. Lynx, Zamudo are fed. Look at this. 2,000 gold difference for Zamudo as expected, and it's Lynx, who I think before this point was noticeably behind, now shooting up to be ahead of Meech as well. So AoE are back in a position where they can try to snowball into a win. I think that soul is going to be very important though.
See, a lesser caster would make a pun based off that and be like, you know, something about lightning crash, blah, blah, blah. But Lynx is in a good spot. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna go down that route. Lynx doing well.
Respect.
6-1 on Zeri. Started off, you know, 2 kills to your name. That's a nice start for Zeri into Silver Lane.
Right.
But now you gotta be careful because the TP behind should be able to dash over the wall. Was slowed down just a touch. And look, that was a double TP. So it's Jenkins and Triple. They flash in. Lynx the wrong way right into the waiting arms of Jenkins. And now Skytech has to completely bail on Winnie, leaving him out to dry.
And what a beautiful punish there. You know Young's TP is not quite up yet, and immediately you see Lynx is too far up in the mid lane. So now Skytech, I don't think they're going to let you escape
Fool me
that time.
once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As he's trying to get over there, does dodge away from Jenkins.
Wait.
Did Jenkins see him? I don't think.
No, I think they both, yes, that's crazy.
Cancelled. Yeah. Okay, now goes back over the wall, chased down by the Arctic Assault, given a little bit of a camping emoji from Skytech. Minions helping out. Let the minions finish off the kill, Jenkins, because he already had it.
Oh, wow. That was quite a long one. But overall, big punish from CLG gets them right back into the lead, Magical, and they won't drop Herald yet. Well, but they have a lot of time. They don't need to.
Beatdown, you talked about, you know, the power these amateur teams have, which is they're not afraid to skirmish. Even when behind, they're not afraid to fight. But you see the power of Academy through that play, that even when behind, they understand their strengths and weaknesses that they can utilize to capitalize over their opponents, such as Young not having his TP, and they knew the double TP play would work perfectly.
And it has. You commit a lot of map pressure as a result, but you get yourself in such a powerful position as CLG Academy. So now, isn't anything to play for luckily, if you're a fan of AOE, their win con at this point is still Soul. 2 minutes till the Dragon. That's why you see Young pushing out this bottom wave. That's why you see them trying to set up the top side so that they'll be ready on the side of AOE to actually make a break to set up vision and try to contest this Drake. This third Drake is so important.
And Cubby always likes to say how Mountain Dragon is one of the strongest dragons, if not the strongest dragon in the game, especially the Soul.
Agreed.
But yeah, that's like not many people can argue, especially when you have a team like AOE that is fairly squishy. And you talked about this at the very beginning of the day, or the very beginning of the Champion Select, how squishy this team composition is. Well, they can have a Mountain Soul, makes them a lot more likely to survive some of these initial onslaughts and fights against CLG.
Right, and that's the thing to play for here. Still, CLG are the ones who are in a powerful position. All they need to do now is deny that next dragon in about a minute's time, and you can see it. They send triple bot. Meech, Kevy, and Breezy are on this bottom side, making sure they are the ones who set up vision and get those last recalls in just to spend what gold that they have. I mean, look at Meech, really close to that Infinity Edge at the moment here, and that's a big spike for a scaling 80 carry like Sivir. So this next team fight, CLG, they just need to play it nice and slow. Nice and extended.
Well, they gotta get that reset set off sooner rather than later, because with 40 seconds remaining until the dragon spawns and the toppling for AOE, they themselves will have a bit of gold in their pockets so that they can't spend. But it doesn't seem that they fully want to. They understand that they have to stay in position to contest this dragon and put themselves within soul point potential.
And they know how important it is. Look at the top wave. They're losing so much gold and XP, they don't care. Mountain Soul Point is something they need, and CLG holding Herald till about now means that it's always that question, are you going to let Herald go through, or are you going to contest Dragon? SkyTech!
No, SkyTech! He was on a mission, but the mission was foiled by CLG. And with that pick, you can tell AOE don't feel nearly as confident anymore. They're peeling back. They got rid of Rift Herald, but they don't want to contest this Dragon anymore. They'll forfeit over to CLG Academy.
Can't do it. SkyTech, that player, he's the one who starts off a lot of these team fights along with Winnie. He's not in the picture. AOE don't have a chance, so that's why they just break off. They accept the loss, and they just move on to trying to push out waves, continue to farm up. And it's a tough one. CLG slowing down the Soul is huge for them, installing the game to where they want to be at. And you can see it, the gold lead. We look at the bot lane, it shifted back for Meech, who's getting close to that 3-item power spike. And now, with no dragon on the picture and a team comp that I would never want to walk into in Fog, CLG can really start to threaten this Baron.
As they already got vision control on the top quadrant of the map. A little bit fought back by AOE, but SkyTech should have learned his lesson from the last time he ventured out alone. And you could tell he's a lot more timid about stepping into that river, expecting that CLG will do exactly as you called out, beatdown. Be all grouped up, ready for those picks.
Right now, Baron time. You're seeing vision come through. It's Jenkins now who's doing a little bit of searching, and SkyTech has that information because he's just hanging around seeing what he can do. But overall, things are slow right now. CLG pretty much taking their birthright. That is AOE's top
Zamudo.
jungle. Oh no.
Does he cleanse it? He will cleanse it, tries to get away, looking for the blast cone. Will be safe. Do they re-engage? They've got them chased down.
That's no glacial prison. Yeah, they could.
And now they can look for Jenkins. The flash! The quickness, but look at how much damage SkyTech took. They might have to be careful with Kevy in stasis. They look for Meech. Winnie, he's down. The flash away. Kevy survives. Lynx, 1v3. Can he pull it off? Trying to damn this to be able to get the damage. He might just do it. He takes down.
You're kidding me. He
He's
gets
looking
him.
for more. A triple on top of Lynx. But Lynx is a maniac in the fights, constantly kiting it back, looking to see if he can re-engage. The flashes are in. The cat's by herself. Now dodged away, but here comes Lynx.
Lynx wants it.
Careful. Shut down for Young. And Young cleaning up CLG. It was a close fight. Breezy doing his damnedest to survive. But what can a cat do against a magician?
Magical, we got to talk about Lynx and how he played that team fight. That was unreal. We needed this player to step up when he is playing the Zeri, and it starts like you called. Glacial Prison is out of the picture, and they know on the side of AOE they can immediately get in there. And first, nice flash from SkyTech. He loses his life, but he sets it up perfectly. And at this point, it's the Lynx show. The lightning crashes in, and he starts to kite things out. The execute on that right-click auto was the big play here, and it's so big from a player who we talked about in previous time in amateur, wasn't making the big plays, wasn't making a splash, but now here on AOE Esports, he is making moves.
God, what a play, like you said, from Lynx.
Look at that
He might
E.
die here, but still.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, it sets up the team to get a delayed ace. They get all the kills off of CLG. I think it actually is an ace. Yes, it is. I just want to make sure because I thought Jenkins might have respawned. And now we get into this fight. They're looking for the pick again. They're going to be able to utilize that on a Winnie, but Winnie's got the crescent strike, and now they're going to be able to dive onto triple. Triple going stasis. Look at Zamudo though. He's low. He's focused.
Skytech.
They've gotten rid of one ADC, but what about Lynx on the other side?
Oh, he's resetting.
Jumping over the wall. Gotta be careful because now comes Kevy looking for the resets. The damage. Young going to be the casualty first. The shutdown for CLG. The look to shut down AOE.
Kevy, he's going in.
He's got it. Or does he?
Wait.
Lynx is a hero for AOE and might even want more. How thirsty are you? Just going to chase out the remaining members of CLG.
Insane clutch coming in there. Kevy biting off more than he can chew. That could have been a Baron for CLG Academy, but now they're just going to have to reset Magical. It was a 1 for 2, but Lynx picking off the jungler goes big for AOE. They slow the game down just a little bit here, but you're seeing the kind of threat and pressure AOE are under. The squishiness of this comp is still a big problem here, and if you get caught out, you almost have no chance unless Lynx continues to go big to do anything about it here.
And what I'm surprised I don't see throughout all the members of AOE is a quick silver sash. Because now you're getting to the point of the game where every fight there is going to be at least one glacial prison thrown out by Jenkins.
Too.
It did. It just recently did a little bit more magic resist that you gain from that item as well as its upgrades.
Yeah, which I mean, it's probably something Zamudo's going to be thinking about. Lynx might be thinking about it too. It could be crucial just to prevent yourself from getting picked off here. But now, 40 seconds Magical, and all of AOE are focusing on this mid push because they need that opportunity to set up vision. They can't get caught unawares again. This dragon is too important, and Winnie just pops the Crescent Guard.
They're looking for the damage onto triple. They're trying to see if they can force out CLG, because as you called out, this dragon is imperative for the success of AOE. If they can latch onto this, grab it, they will be in soul point potential. They will be the ones that dictate the game as Jenkins looks under the Zamudo, but the cleanse again. Now look at Meech. Meech is damaged in the back line. Winnie, his teammate is gone. He looks for Zamudo, but now the lightning crash comes in from Lynx. They gotta be careful. Lynx dodging away, trying to fight against triple, dodging over the wall, but it's just by himself. Can you take on the world?
It's Meech Penta!
Quadra kill! Was it a penta kill for Meech against his former organization?
There it is. He says CLG is better. AOE not ready to beat Academy yet. That is going to be a 5. That's going to be a pentakill for Meech. CLG Academy again in a monumental lead, Magical. They're going to take the Baron. They can take the Dragon. And AOE, it feels like they have nothing left.
That might just be the game. We have gotten to the point where Zeri Yumi scaling is out of control. 10-3 for Meech after that pentakill. And we get to take a look at the replay. It was a nice cleanse initially from Zamudo, but they lost Winnie too quickly too.
The big thing is, I don't know why he popped the Crescent Guard by the bush. If he had it there, things might have gone differently because AOE needs space for their AD carries to do the damage they have. And Meech was the one who was getting all the space in the world. You have an insane front line like that. You have a Yumi at the hip. What else is Meech going to be able to do but carry the game?
That, like I said, against his former organization in AOE, his former teammate in Winnie, where he played and lost to the very organization that he is now a part of, and looks to make sure that they will continue their march forward in the proving grounds.
I mean, Meech is just a player we knew would do great things in Academy, and it's nice to see that that is the case here for the side of CLG Academy. And now, objective bounties, they're up. AOE are in dire straits, Magical. There is very little for them to be able to hope for unless, much like how they played in Game 1, can they find a pick onto somebody crucial. It's going to have to be Meech or
It has
Triple.
to. I think it has to be Meech. That is your primary target. And now, with Zamudo having to flash so early into the fight, you're put back into your base. You can't contest against the double push coming in onto your inhibitor turrets.
And you're at a point, too, where I think we're going to need to see some grievous wounds come through. You need heal cut on the side of AoE if you want any hope of being able to overcome Breezy's healing.
I mean, they need a lot. They need Quicksilver Sashes. They need Grievous Wounds. I don't think they're going to be able to get that time, because now, with it only 28.5 minutes into the game, mid lane inhibitor turret is almost gone. One more minion wave should topple it with the Baron buff. Bot lane is down below a threshold. AOE have their backs ultimately against the wall.
They do. And they're, Zamudo's caught.
Zamudo, no flash, no cleanse you. You shouldn't be that far out. Now Winnie, he's in danger. Flashed back, will get taken down by Meech again for a double kill with Young back in his base with Lynx there as well. But the game is forfeit. CLG will not repeat history and go to a game 3 against AOE Esports. Instead, they will take a sweep over the team, over Winnie, and make sure that they knock out the hope and dreams of Amateur that remained here in AOE as being one of 3 that remain. With Young dying, that is game, set, and match. CLG march forward.
And despite AOE's best attempts, Magical, CLG Academy say they are not good enough. And like you said, we say goodbye to another amateur team as CLG advanced in the lower bracket.
They've had their KDAs at the very end. You know, they had quite the game in this one. Pentakill for Meech against his former teammate and former organization, showing why he was the one picked up to go into Academy, and the 2-0, so they don't face the exact same thing, the deja vu that was potentially there against AOE.
No, and it was just good. It was good play from AOE overall, but CLG proved, I think, in both games with the composition just that played better into the later parts of the game, both with damage and ability to team fight. It just meant that your margin for error, again, was so small, and this time AOE could not extend the game to 40 minutes.
No, that's what they kind of needed to. They drafted a composition that could scale up just as well.
Maybe.
It is difficult to face off against the Sivir, Yumi, Viego, because they're going to scale up just as well as you, but it almost looked like they had it. That first shenaniganery play, up in top lane, getting 2 kills initially for Lynx. I thought that was it, but CLG prove us wrong. Counter logic at its finest, as they take that 2-0 to continue on to the Proving Grounds. We'll toss that break, and when we come back, we'll have an interview with the victorious CLG Academy. Make sure you stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, for our post-series interview. I have Jenkins in this interview powered by Verizon from CLG Academy in the top lane. Congratulations on the 2-0, Jenkins, but what a way to do it. The level 1 was insane in that game number 2, so I want to go back to that moment. What happened there? Both teams just kind of ran at each other in the top lane.
Yeah. So actually, I've seen this happen in either like one of their live games or in a solo queue game where he asks for one of his either jungler or support to like pink in lane, and I'm telling my teams like I think they're gonna do it again for this lane, and it's like we just made a really bad plan around it. We weren't all synchronized, and I kind of like lost my composure and walked in too fast and ended up dying, and we all got wiped in. Honestly, the mood wasn't too good at the beginning, but we had the 1-0 lead, so we were like confident that we could still come back in this game.
Yeah, and, okay, go into that strategy. Talk me through it a little bit, because once the dust settled, Draven's got a kill, Zeri's got 2 kills, everyone's back into the lane. What was the game plan from that point forward once that level 1 had gone so poorly and you were already that far behind?
Well, the game plan was just to minimize losses. For example, I think Kebby did a pretty good gank on Draven, and he ended up getting his condition into a him ganking him and just like messing up his condition, and it allowed me to stabilize my lane and play it out even though he had a lead. And I think that when he had a bad response and wasn't able to punish Kebby, so after I got past the early game, I knew that I could at least be more useful than Draven in terms of like just 5-man beatball situations, which I was able to do in just finding gauges. Our bot lane was kind of stable. It's just very hard to do anything like proactive on the Zeri or con side personally. And I think we just all around like the map, we just stabilized really well.
Just don't give them anything else from that point forward. I think that's definitely a good approach to go at it. But it's tough when you're up against that Draven. So congratulations pulling it off and actually playing that out pretty well. But I got to go back to Meech getting the pentakill, a big moment for this player on a big stage. What's it been like for you seeing a player like Meech come into the team, first split with the org, and from day one to now, what's it been like watching his development?
It's actually been very. I'm very pleased. Going into CLG originally, I wasn't too sure what my roster was going to be. And honestly didn't know what to expect from each one. We said we were going to get him, but according to like my teammates, they were like, "Oh, we all knew he was going to be this good anyway." So to me, I was just like, I was really surprised with how well he's playing because it kind of reminded me of when I was playing with Jan. I wasn't too sure on Jan at first, but they both had like really surprised me with their improvement over the split and season.
It's been cool seeing the development of him as a player. So you knew nothing about him then coming into the roster?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh. Well, I think that we're all learning together just how much of an impact he can have.
The pentakill was pretty funny.
It was funny. How so?
It was just like we got like the third kill, and like we all like it just clicked. It's like we're gonna get the penta, and we all like we all struggled to, or we were all like scrambling to try to get him the penta. So I thought it was pretty funny.
I feel like in those moments, once the team clicks, it's like, oh, there's an opportunity. I love when you can see that shift happen in the fight, right? It's like everyone's like, all right, stop trying to last hit. We're no longer just trying to win the fight. Now it's about the highlight reel. But I want to go back to something about yourself personally as a player. Obviously, you've been around the scene. You're known for a specific champion. Kennen obviously is somebody that you've made a mark for, but we learned on the show together that it was not your original main. Do you care to enlighten us? What was your original main?
Yeah, so I actually mained Morgana back in season 3, and she was a mid laner at the time, but she was getting permabanned along with Kassadin, and I was like, if I can't pick Morgana, I should probably pick something else. And funny enough, I actually mained Fiddlesticks after Morgana, and I was like, it's kind of hard to play mid, so I'll play Kennen instead. Because my idea was that I realized champions that had like really big impact, like very flashy, like can go in and just like carry team fights alone, and like Fiddlesticks, Morgana, and or at least Morgana at the time, and Kennen could all fulfill that role, and that's why I ended up picking Kennen.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that we have it understood. The reason is that you felt that they did the same thing. Does that hold up to this day? Am I just playing Morgana wrong? Because I feel like they're very different champions.
Morgana's been nerfed, and she's not like the queen of mid lane anymore. At least back in the day, she was like one of the permabanned mids, along with like Oriana, I believe.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that I had my information correct. Well, thank you so much, Jenkins. Any final word that you have for anybody out there watching?
Thanks for supporting us, and just don't count us out yet. I think we can really surprise some people going into the next games.
I love it. We'll be keeping our eyes out for CLG Academy going forward. I'm sure you'll be watching this next series very closely. Thank you very much, Jenkins, for coming and chatting with us, and best of luck going into your prep.
Have a good day.
With that said, we'll bring back on the casters here to get